Will the governor's tax plan actually increase tuition is a question that a lot of students want to know, because they want to say, hey, if am I going to vote for my own increase?
Yeah. Well, a couple thoughts. One, it's been frustrating, and it's not an indictment of the governor, because it's always easy for guys like me to sit on the sideline and say, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, but you're on the board of Regents.
Well, I'm on the board of Regents, so there's 2 points I'll make. One is he finally got back on the campaign trail yesterday at UCLA. He hadn't been on the campaign trail since August 30th, and the election is happening today, meaning people are already starting to put in their absentee ballots. There's early elections happening soon in most of the counties, and, of course, we've got an election just in 3 weeks. Number two is this thing is barely holding on, and it requires veracity. And my big concern is we went down yesterday and said there'll be no tuition increase if you support this. That's just not true. And you can't say things like that. And I don't mean this as an indictment of the governor, but I know for a fact that we are going to be discussing tuition increases, the UC Board of Regents and CSU Board of Trustees, shortly after the election. How is it possible that we can say we're not going to increase your tuition when we're already agendizing a discussion around tuition increases? The point that the governor should make is an accurate one, and I support his tax measure, but we have to be honest and straightforward with folks, is we won't increase it as much. That's really the play. Now, he's technically making an argument that there's a 1-year reprieve if the tax measure is at the UC system. But in order to implement next year's increase, we'll have to make that decision in just a couple of months. So people will see headlines of a tuition increase that has been announced, even if it doesn't go to effect, and there'll be a mismatch in terms of what people heard and what we did. And that's where we got to be more cautious in politics. You can't do that. We have to be straight with people. Governor can win this debate by being very forthright and honest, but not necessarily saying things that he knows well don't necessarily reflect reality at the CSU, absolutely, and the UC within a technical point.
Okay, but
undoubtedly we'll be putting a call into the governor's
office.
He's not
going to be. Look, he's not happy with me, and I'm a big supporter. But what I don't like, maybe I'm just at that point in my life. I've done this long enough, and I've seen it, and I've played the game too. And if you're going to do something, do it with veracity and on the merits. He's done that. But don't, with kids, suggest something that's not true, because you know what? I'll be at the UC Regents when it gets shut down by these same kids who will say we were lied to. Because we're not talking about not increasing tuition. We're talking about what rate of increase. And while there's a 1-year reprieve if this passes, that 1 year is almost expired. That was a tuition increase that we would have increased, that we would have already announced. This isn't to increase for the subsequent year that we're about to announce. I will be opposing it, but based on the history, it's most likely to go into effect.
If Prop 38 were to pass, would you still have to raise tuition?
Yeah, look, more immediately, there would be, it would actually, frankly, would only be a little higher tuition, most likely, because none of the money from 38 goes into higher education. Of course, none of the money in 30 goes to higher ed. It's just the trigger cuts. And this was the gun put to the head. Another thing that should frustrate folks. We put a gun to the head of UC and CSU, $250 million each. If you don't pass this, we're going to cut those two institutions by $250 million. With 38, it lockbox in for K through 12 education. It relieves the general fund. So it arguably has an indirect impact on higher ed. The direct impact with 30 is we don't pull the trigger.
All right, your Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom,
I'm in trouble
insights
again,
today.
Yeah, all right.
All right, well, we will talk with you again next week, hopefully.
Private office.
Exactly. Right.